An unauthenticated remote attacker can exploit this to conduct MITM attack against the SMB server. Now, what is the solution to this? The solution to this: enforce message signing in the host configuration. On Windows, this is found in the policy settings, Microsoft Network Server, digitally signed communications, blah blah blah. This gives you the description of the vulnerability and the solution to it. Now, when you look further down, MRP, you have ports. Now, remember I told you that we have a total number of 65,535 different ports. So, what this scan essentially does is to check each port to see which one is vulnerable or what vulnerabilities lies in each of these ports. Now, so far with this SMB signing not required, it is a vulnerability that affects the port 445. When you look at it, you see port number 445/TCP/clips on the host 192.168.0.251. And that can share clear before we move on. Is this clear about that? Can't it re-explain?
Explain.
Okay.
Yes, can you re-explain?
Okay. Let's. Shebi, I understand the batching scan. I understand the batching scan. Shall I understand batching DBB? I understand batching DBB.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, good. Now, Sherry, this page you're looking at is explaining one of the vulnerabilities we found, or Nessus found. Nessus found a vulnerability called the SMB signing not required. The description is there, and how to solve this vulnerability has also been written. Then I said, Teba Wubi Saleh, we have ports. And Professor Dr. Binushele, I increase it there so that porting actually clears it. Yeah, top right corner. Thank you very much. So now, when you look at ports, this is port 445 Misale. Now, this is telling you that this particular vulnerability is a vulnerability that affects or that lies within the port 445 of the total 65,535 different ports. Let me explain. Now, I made reference to our PCs, our computers. Now, tẹ́bá wo kọ̀mpútà yín, ẹ mọ̀ pé lẹ́gbẹ̀ẹ́ ẹ máa rí port kan tí ẹ lè fi USB sí, ẹ máa rí port kan tí charger yín máa wọ̀, ẹ máa rí port kan tó jẹ́ pé HDMI ló máa wọ̀ bẹ̀, ẹ máa rí port kan tó jẹ́ pé Type C ló máa wọ̀ bẹ̀, and so on. Now, each of these ports has vulnerabilities that lies within it. I don't know if that is clear. For example, if you have a port T flash drive lè wọlé sí, you know that irú threats there were posed to would be the threats tó jẹ́ pé that can be stored in a flash drive or something. Irú vulnerability bẹ́ẹ̀ kò lè affect the charging point yín, because inter wọlé síbi tí USB port yín máa wọlé sí kò ní wọlé síbi tí charger yín máa wọlé sí. Just trying to make something relatable. Remember, in every network device and your domain, there are a total of 65,535 ports. And port 1, port 2, port 3, port 4, port 5, port 6, there's 65,535. Which this port then we port 445 is part of that 65,535 ports. Now, this particular vulnerability the vulnerability of SMB signing not required is a vulnerability on port 445. Ejeka, Professor Dot, can we go back to the vulnerability group? Can we just go back to Catalogue vulnerability me? Now let's go back to vulnerabilities. Let's hope that we have another vulnerability. None has been discovered yet. Let's go back to hosts. It's still running. The scan is still running, but so far we have just one vulnerability that has been found. Nothing has been found on your main PC, but just one has been found on your Windows 8. So I just click Windows 18 again, and let's see info, for example. I just go with the first info. Now let's click on the first one. Okay. Now, when you look at the output for this one, it says an SMB server. Now don't forget that when you see info, it does not refer to a vulnerability. It is just giving you some observations around some configurations on that particular asset. So now you see that it says an SMB under the output. Now it says an SMB server is running on this port. What port? Port 139. This is telling you that O2T scan port 139 and it's discovered some things. And it is telling us now that on this particular port 139, an SMB server is running on this port. Not like it is a vulnerability, but just be aware that on port 139 an SMB is running. More few boya understand the ports and say. Now ports, Professor Kolawole, question.
Okay, sir. That's the port 139.
Ben.
He said nothing is going on there. It's just the system is observing if there's something there or not, but it's not vulnerability. So can you call that suspicious activities?
Can we call that a what?
Suspicious activities.
No, it's not suspicious. It's not suspicious. You know, it's just like saying something is running on our HTTP port or our HTTPS port. It is expected that it should run that way. You know, it's just alerting us that something is going on. It's just like trying to access facebook.com. If I go to facebook.com, definitely the HTTP port on Facebook would have something going on there because I am actively visiting it. So it doesn't mean that there's a vulnerability there. Does that make sense?
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. So let's go back, sir. We have any new vulnerabilities? Professor Dotson, can you please go back to vulnerabilities? Okay, I think we have another one. I think you see that we have a new mixed one. Let's click on the first mixed. Good. Now you see that we have two new vulnerabilities. One is critical, the other one is high. Are you observing? Now let's click on critical. Let's click on the critical risk vulnerability rather. Now let us look at this. Now this is still scanning, would allow each time. Now this is showing us, okay, unsupported Windows operating system. This is the name of the vulnerability. Now let us read the description. It says that the remote version of Microsoft Windows is either missing a service pack or is no longer supported. As a result, it is likely to contain security vulnerabilities. Now, what is the solution? Upgrade to a supported service pack or operating system. Now, ẹ má gbàgbé nígbà tá à ń sọ̀rọ̀ vulnerabilities, a sọ pé vulnerabilities oríṣiríṣi ojú ló lè gbà wá. It could be misconfigurations, it could be outdated softwares, it could also be vulnerabilities on ports. Now, this one is pointing to a operating system tá à ń lò yìí, it is outdated because the solution is saying that upgrade to a supported service pack or operating system. Check it. So now this is a critical risk because this might contain a security error. Now let's go one step backward. I believe this is clear.